Welcome. I have a one-day story for you today. It's called The Reluctant Lighthouse. And I do not have any pictures yet because I wrote it and I haven't drawn them yet. But I thought I would read this for you today. It's called The Reluctant Lighthouse. Once there was a lighthouse who wasn't exactly sure she wanted to be a lighthouse. She loved the view on the edge of the sea when it was sunny and warm and she could hear the waves splashing on the rocks below, and even on the nights when it was clear and quiet so that she could see the stars. But she wasn't so sure about rainy or foggy days or nights, and she hated being cold and wet. Most times she loved being alone, standing on the edge of the rocks, watching the seagulls swooping and crying out for her only company, other than her lighthouse keeper, who, twice a day, morning and night, cleaned her windows so she could see and polished her mirrors so that she could shine deep into the night with just a tiny candle. Sometimes she wished she were tall and elegant with fancy stripes like her sisters up the coast. They were so pretty and had many people come to take pictures of them. Some were even in magazines. It was too dangerous for people to visit her. There was not even enough space for a house, so her keeper lived inside. Because it was so dangerous, she was also small and short, with very thick walls and no openings other than a very teeny tiny door facing away from the sea, and of course, the windows on the top that went all around her so she could see and shine her light in a big sweeping circle. She dreamed about moving on those cold or rainy winter days to somewhere warm and sunny, but her builders had drilled her foundations deep into the rock so that no matter the storms, she would stand and shine. She dreamed about moving somewhere safer where the water wouldn't crash so hard on the rocks and make so much noise, where she could see for miles and miles of green rolling hills of grass, and no storms to frighten her, no waves so huge they almost washed over her. But what would she do? No one needs a lighthouse on the edge of the prairies, and besides, she was stuck. It would cost too much money to move and take too long to build new foundations. Her keeper would not move with her, so she would be all alone, with her windows slowly getting so dirty she would not be able to see, and her mirror slowly getting so dull no one would be able to see her tiny candle. And what would she warn and protect people about? She was not built for the kind of storms the prairies had, huge cyclones of wind that vacuumed up dirt and trees and threw them in circles. But she could dream of warmer weather and sunny days, being slim and pretty like her sisters, and in a safe enough place so she could have many visitors and her keeper could have a place of his own. And the days, weeks, months, and years passed. The keeper was faithful to clean her windows and polish her mirrors and fill her lamps with oil every day. And twice a year, before and after the storm season, the keeper took inventory, replenished supplies, and checked her foundations to make sure she was strong. Sometimes it tickled, sometimes it hurt, but she always felt better after her checkups. One day, her keeper started bringing in more supplies than ever before. He had a very serious look on his face and began double and triple checking her seals, her lamp oil supply, and how easily her mirror rotated around the lamp. The lighthouse usually didn't pay much attention to the radio chatter of all the lighthouse keepers talking to one another. But because her keeper was so serious today, She did listen in. A big storm was coming. Her sisters were scrambling to get ready in time. They had had so many visitors over the summer that they had not had time to stock supplies, polish their mirrors, or check their seals. Their windows were clean at least, so they could look pretty for photos, but no extra supply of lamps. They were in such a safe place, they hadn't bothered. The sky grew dark. The clouds looked big and dark and scary. Even though it was the middle of the day, it was so dark that the keeper lit the lamps. The wind began to blow and the waves crashed higher than before. Far out to sea, the ships began to come home. Fishing ships, travel ships, all moving back to port and to safety. There was no port near the little lighthouse. She lived among the rocks. There was no one to call home, and in the middle of the storm, she suddenly felt very lonely. She had no one to call home. It was dark and cold and wet. She cried as she bravely kept shining her lamp, warning of the dangers throughout that long, cold, scary night. The waves crashed almost to the top of her windows. Inside, she was safe and dry, but very sad and very busy shining her light as best she could. The next day was beautiful. Sunny, clear blue skies, no wind, and wreckage from the storm everywhere below on the rocks around her. But she was fine. Quiet, tired, lonely, and sad, but her seals had held. She had had enough lamp oil to shine all night long. As the little lighthouse looked out to sea and watched the birds swoop and swirl with the wind, and the keeper was cleaning her windows from all the salt, the keeper spoke up. Little one, I know you're sad and lonely, but don't be. Your purpose is not to be a home for others, but to show them the way to get safely home in dark times when no other light shines in the darkness. And the little lighthouse finally understood she was exactly where she was supposed to be, not for herself, but for others. She was always safe, but others were not. Her job was not for happy times, but to shine in dark times. She was not the refuge, but to shine the way so travelers can find their way safely home.